What did you make of Kevin Stefanski's decision to keep Shedeur on the sideline for that 2-point conversion?
Extremely embarrassing. And it's a fireable offense, if you ask me. Think and unpack what's been happening week after week after week, how we've been trying to mask, put makeup, not mention, do certain things, and then in the most gotta have it moment of the game, this is probably the only team in the National Football League that takes their starting quarterback out of the game.
Picture this. The whole stadium is shaking. The fans are losing their minds and the game is hanging by a thread. Shedeur is out there cooking like he owns the place, and then out of nowhere, boom, he gets pulled from the field like somebody just unplugged the country's internet. It was so wild that even Cam Newton felt something shift in the universe and instantly snapped about it.
You make that call or did Tommy?
Yeah, I make every call.
Was that play call yours or Tommy's?
I'm responsible for all.
Well, we had another game with a young quarterback named Shedeur Sanders, who, by the way, today was named the starter for the rest of the season by Kevin Stefanski. But Kevin Stefanski, they score the touchdown. They're down 2 points. They need a 2-point conversion. Your young quarterback in Shedeur Sanders has played a pretty damn good game all game long. You take him out of the game and you run a play.
Now, social media is exploding. Stefanski's catching heat from every direction, and everyone keeps asking the same thing. What kind of decision was that? This whole moment went off the rails real quick. The energy inside that stadium was the kind of late-game madness where logic disappears, instincts take over, and every heartbeat feels like the next play might rewrite the season. Shedeur had been torching the defense all night, throwing lasers, shaking defenders, and making the Titans look like they forgot their game plan. Cleveland actually looked scary for once. That 2-point attempt was lining up like the last scene of a classic comeback movie, the kind where the hero refuses to fold. And then Cleveland did something only Cleveland could pull off. They snatched the ball out of Shedeur's hands and replaced all that momentum with straight confusion so fast you can almost hear the brakes locking up. And somewhere across the country, Cam Newton, former MVP, walking highlight reel, and self-proclaimed keeper of quarterback energy, felt that moment hit him like a signal from the football gods.
I do have a question for the Browns, whether it's for the OC or Stefanski. Final moments of the game. Shedeur takes that team all the way down. They score a touchdown. You're down by 2. You have to go for a 2-point conversion to tie it up. Why take Shedeur off the field? I think they did a direct snap and they tried to do a double reverse. And I think Quinshon Judkins had the ball in his hand. But like, why get tricky at that moment in the game? Just let your young QB, have a moment and push this game into overtime. I didn't understand that. Just overcomplicating the moment.
First off, coaching's hard. Making decisions is hard, but that's why you get paid. So it's not that any of us sitting at home can do better, but I can tell you this, I wouldn't make this call with this personnel grouping. Kevin Stefanski, it felt personal. And I'm not saying it was, it just felt it watching this. And let's back up here. Shedeur Sanders, and you see the 2-point play, down 2, game on the line. Their second 2-point play of the game, they ran another one earlier, down 14, and decided to go for 2 points and started chasing.
These type of decisions really is beyond even a head scratch. It's like, what are we really doing here? Are we really trying to win? Especially given the circumstance of the game that Shedeur Sanders is happening or having at that specific point in time. And to take him out, embarrassing is an understatement.
It was awful. First of all, let's get that out the way first. They've got some of the best sports talk radio shows in America. I hope they are raking Kevin Stefanski through the coals. The only interest that the team garners outside of watching the greatness of Myles Garrett is watching Shedeur Sanders and seeing how he develops. That's all you have.
Once he caught wind of what went down, he didn't hold back for even a second. What came next wasn't calm, it wasn't filtered, and it definitely wasn't polite. It was pure disbelief mixed with competitive fire, laser focused on Kevin Stefanski like a guided missile of accountability. Because this wasn't just a weird call. This was one of those moments where fans stare at their TV like the TV personally offended them. This was the type of decision that becomes a story told in barbershops, group chats, and those long rants people bring up years later. A move so confusing that even former players sit up straight and ask what world the coaching staff thinks they're living in.
I'm going to say it again. Kevin Stefanski must be fired. I'm going to say it again and again and again. Kevin Stefanski did not want Shedeur Sanders, didn't even want him in the 5th round. Kevin Stefanski has done everything in his power to keep Shedeur Sanders from succeeding in Cleveland as a 5th round pick against all odds. Even yanking Shedeur again for the potential tying 2-point conversion, going with the Wildcat. It was a disaster after Shedeur had shown again and again he's the answer in the red zone.
It's weird. I don't know why he even came out and said this. Like, he should be the starting quarterback. You shouldn't have pulled him off the field to begin with. And just the whole Cleveland situation and Shedeur is a mess. And I hope somehow he's able to get
so mind blowing to think that he thinks he's doing Shedeur a favor with every step of the way that he does things. He makes it a point. It's almost like he's using this for his own celebrity, just to be a prick or whatever else you can use the word to call him. It's just ridiculous. I want to do research on him this week and find out, have him and Dion ever crossed paths?
I thought it was going to be impossible to have him have a game like he did yesterday, and the prevailing thought afterwards wasn't going to be anything but Stefanski's awesome. Wow, look at the work that he did. Yep. I didn't know that we could have this type of moment. And because because we've been talking about it for months, what was going to make me the most angry through all of this was them trying to take credit for Shedeur being good at football. He's always been good at football, okay? There's nothing Stefanski did in 3 weeks that made the light bulb go on, okay? And I was getting ready to be angry about it all, but the way yesterday went down, that's not the conversation.
Pulling Shedeur at the biggest moment of the entire night didn't just feel questionable. It felt like somebody unplugged the main character right before the final boss battle, and Cam wasn't out here sugarcoating anything. He wasn't talking like a guy trying to defend the coaching staff. He was talking like a player who has lived through real pressure and knows what winning is supposed to look like. In his eyes, this wasn't a risky attempt that didn't work. This was a blinking neon sign pointing straight at a deeper issue in Cleveland. A team that says it's trying to win suddenly removing the one player who dragged them into the fight. That doesn't sound bold. That sounds scared. The Titans defense had no answers all night. 4 touchdowns, total command. They were reacting instead of attacking. Shedeur wasn't just hot, he was erupting. And Cleveland looked at that heat and said, let's cool everything down. They turned off the stove while dinner was still cooking. Cam's frustration wasn't hidden. It came from that place only top competitors understand. A place where certain unwritten rules are treated like law. And one of those rules is simple. When your quarterback is rolling and the season is on the line, you do not get cute. You don't start overthinking every detail. You ride with the player who brought you to the moment. But Cleveland didn't do that. They went the opposite direction, and the outcome didn't feel like strategy. It felt like self-sabotage in real time. This wasn't described as a gutsy idea that failed. It was painted as a misunderstanding of what winning football even looks like. In Cam's world, coaches earn respect by trusting their best player when the lights are brightest. Anything else looks like fear holding a headset. And once he realized what happened, that confusion he felt turned into something much stronger. Accusation, because when a decision makes zero competitive sense, people start digging for answers that have nothing to do with football anymore.
And it's not that they didn't think Shedeur had that kind of a high football acumen, because he does, but he was starting a little bit back further in the process of all the things that you have to do to go out there and play pro football, just in terms of the play calling and the sliding the protections and managing the motions and all that kind of stuff. He just had to get up to speed on that stuff, but he has just gone lightning quick.
Sanders just played by far his best game as a pro. He just threw for 364 yards and 3 touchdowns and led the Browns in rushing and scored a rushing touchdown from 7 yards. Clutch, clutch, clutch. Just led an 80-yard drive in 7 plays to put them within striking distance, 31-29. Tying 2-point conversion after he had just thrown a short touchdown pass, a beautiful fade rainbow.
I just like this calmness and poise in the pocket when things weren't going so well. I like the fact that he looked like he was competing. He was focused. He wasn't a happy-go-lucky, I'm just happy to be here. This guy really wanted to win and bring his team back. I like that about him. The improvements that I've seen him from his first game and a half of play was very significant. And that's what you're looking for in a young quarterback. This is a building block process, which I keep telling you guys. He throws an interception. I told you he sucks. He throws a touchdown. I told you he's the greatest thing ever. Let's just keep watching him play. These are going to be 4 very important games
Suddenly it's not about strategy sheets or probability numbers. It's about power, control, and who really gets to shape the story. The whole thing looked like a coach hitting the brakes right when the spotlight was about to land on his young quarterback for real. The visuals were rough. If Shedeur had failed in that moment, people would have accepted it. Failure happens in this league, but he didn't even get the chance to try, and in the NFL, getting denied the moment hurts worse than throwing a late pick. Fans don't forget when their guy doesn't even get the shot. Cleveland didn't need trending posts to feel something was wrong. The stadium already delivered its judgment in real time. You could practically feel the shock ripple through the crowd the second that play unfolded without Shedeur on the field. It wasn't surprise. It was disbelief mixed with years of franchise scars that never healed. Cam recognized that emotion instantly. It's that helpless feeling when you're watching momentum get stolen by someone holding a clipboard instead of someone holding the ball. It's the frustration of knowing exactly what a competitor craves in that moment and seeing that door slammed shut right in front of him. To Cam, this wasn't just a rough night of play calling. It felt like a coach publicly stripping his own quarterback of the right to take control of the game, and then came the aftermath.
You may be a nice guy, Kevin, but what you did today just fueled the storm of people asking you. Go ahead, ask the same questions now. All you reporters, it's absurd that Kevin would sabotage and sabotage and sabotage. You took your quarterback out of the game when he brought you back from the depths of Hades, dropped dimes, picked himself off the cold turf after he got hit time after time after time, walked his way up the field, threw a dime to Harold Fannin Jr., and you
want wins to save their jobs.
No.
So for me, this is the perfect outcome for the Cleveland Browns. You saw all the potential you wanted to see from Shedeur Sanders. He gets an A+ for me. Like I thought he was terrific. I genuinely think he was terrific. Missed a few throws here. Every quarterback does. I thought overall he was terrific. You lose. It's another bad loss on Stefanski's resume.
Boy.
I want the whole thing fired. I want the staff. I want the front office. I literally want to clean house from top to bottom. So you get to see your future quarterback hopefully play like an all-star. And you have another loss to a terrible team that's going to make it harder for Jimmy Haslam to look at Kevin Stefanski and say, hey.
The press conference that should have cooled off the room, but instead just lit the whole situation up even more. No hesitation, no second thoughts, just a decision made earlier and rolled out with cold confidence. That's what made the whole thing feel calculated instead of chaotic. Meanwhile, Shedeur didn't hide his disappointment, and why should he? The man had been slicing up a defense all night, stacking drives, proving people wrong with every snap, and building a moment that could have rewritten his NFL story. In his mind, the final chapter was already lined up. Ball in his hands, game on the line, a chance to flip his entire narrative. Then suddenly the pen gets yanked away mid-sentence. You don't need dramatic phrases to understand how that hits a competitor's heart. Quarterbacks dream about those seconds. They train for them. They picture them during quiet nights when the stadium lights are off and the future feels wide open. Having that moment taken from you, especially when you earned it through pure performance, sticks in the chest like missing a breath when you need it most. Statistically, his night was unreal. Touchdowns, yards, complete command. He didn't just meet expectations, he blew them out of the water. At one point, he had so much production the Titans didn't look built to handle any more of it. Cleveland had two choices: trust the fire or step back from it. And they picked neither. They picked caution dressed up as courage, and everybody saw it. Cam's reaction didn't feel like some staged outburst for views. It felt personal. It felt like someone crossed the unwritten rules of quarterback life. There's a code among players who thrive in those final minute moments, a brotherhood built on clutch DNA. And from that angle, pulling Shedeur felt like breaking an oath. That's why Cam's tone jumped from criticism to consequences so fast. In his world, a move like that doesn't just risk a game, it risks belief. It shakes trust in the locker room. It sends a message that even your best might not be enough when the moment is too big. And for any competitor, that message hits harder than any loss. And once that kind of doubt gets planted in a team, it grows fast, like wildfire in a dry field. Cleveland's problem isn't just fans dragging them online, it's the quiet cracks forming inside the building. Every player pays attention to how the stars get treated when the lights are bright. Every backup watches and realizes how thin the trust line really is. And every quarterback in that facility now has to wonder what it actually takes to be trusted with the game hanging on the edge. Fans didn't need a former MVP to tell them they were right. Their instincts already screamed it. Social media blew up instantly because this moment tapped straight into old wounds. That familiar Cleveland feeling that just when things start going right, something strange finds a way to go wrong. No lead feels safe, no breakout feels secure, and no rising talent seems protected from the pull of chaos that always drags them back. Stefanski didn't just miscalculate. He ripped open years of franchise scar tissue. And the worst part for him? This time, the evidence is crystal clear, slow motion, and replayed endlessly across every screen imaginable. The wildest part is how simple the solution could have been. Leave Shedeur in, let him take the shot, and live with the result. If he fails, it becomes a teaching moment, something he builds on. If he succeeds, the whole locker room gets a jolt of belief that money can't buy. Either way, the storyline stays honest and rooted in true competition. But instead, Cleveland somehow picked the one option that satisfied absolutely nobody. Now the conversation has shifted completely. It's not just about a young quarterback breaking out anymore. It's about whether the head coach even matches the direction his team is heading in. It's about whether control is more important than courage. It's about whether Cleveland understands the identity it's trying to build, or if it's just stumbling into the same mistakes wearing a new uniform. And when that spotlight grew uncomfortable, Cam's voice just amplified what everyone else had been dancing around. This wasn't a small mistake. Fans bounced between anger and exhaustion because this wasn't some random technical foul or messy clock moment. This was the quarterback. This was the moment. This was supposed to be the story. And the real sting? Shedeur did everything right. He prepared, he executed, he stepped up when the night demanded it. He delivered the kind of performance coaches dream about when they draft or sign a quarterback. But when the moment came to finish the chapter, he wasn't even allowed to hold the pen. Instead, the scene ended early, cut off before the payoff, leaving everyone arguing about what could have happened instead of celebrating what did happen. And nothing frustrates a football community more than a story with missing pages. That's why Cam's outrage hit people so hard. It sounded exactly like what the fan base has been feeling for years. Cleveland always seems one step from turning the corner, and every time they're about to cross that line, something unexplainable yanks them right back into the storm again. This night wasn't supposed to repeat that cycle, but somehow, here they are again. Inside that locker room, the air after that game had to feel heavier than the scoreboard could ever show. Wins can heal stuff, but losses without answers stay inside you. And this was the kind of loss that doesn't come with clean explanations or easy lessons. From a legacy angle, nights like this shape careers in strange ways. Shedeur will always be remembered for how he played, but the missing ending will follow him around like an unfinished track. A story where he did everything except get the chance to write the last line. Not because of failure, but because someone chose it that way. And that's what made Cam's reaction hit different. His fire didn't feel like random media noise. It felt like a warning shot straight at Cleveland's decision makers. A loud reminder that players and legends see these moments way differently than any spreadsheet or probability chart ever could. And once trust cracks in this league, fixing it is tougher than repairing any defensive scheme. Now, the real question isn't just what happens next week. It's what this moment means months from now. Does this hang in players' minds? The next time a tight game shows up, does the locker room hesitate instead of locking in? Does Shedeur now carry even a small ounce of doubt where pure confidence used to live? Because coaching decisions don't just shift momentum, they reshape the mental terrain. And in a league where inches and seconds decide everything, that mental edge is priceless. Cleveland didn't just lose a game. They lost control of a narrative they had finally begun to win. Instead of celebrating a young quarterback's rise, they're suddenly dealing with a public debate about their head coach's judgment. Instead of highlighting progress, everyone is dissecting philosophy. The Browns now stand at a crossroads, a place they didn't need to be. They've created a divide between trust and rigidity, player empowerment and top-down control, evolution versus sticking to a script that clearly doesn't fit anymore. And every future high-pressure moment is now going to carry the shadow of this decision until something big rewrites the story for good. Whether Stefanski survives the season or not, this moment is already locked into Cleveland mythology, sitting right beside all those infamous plays fans bring up with a sigh before the punchline hits. But for Shedeur, this night still shows what he can grow into. No decision can erase the footage. No benching can undo the confidence he built under pressure. But the frustration of not finishing what he started, That's the kind of thing that sticks just long enough to spark something deeper inside a competitor. As for Cam, his outburst wasn't just commentary. It was a reminder that people who played this game at the highest level recognize a moment of competitive betrayal the second they see it, and they don't stay quiet about it. This wasn't just a controversial call. It was the uncomfortable truth that trust, once questioned this loudly, almost never snaps back to its original shape. But one thing is already set in stone. This was more than a game. It was a statement, and the entire league heard it loud and clear. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more.